successful ones have been obviously the strict press, which has just come to brute strength.
Number 8, lane
1. All right, welcome back to another one of my interview series. I'm joined today by none other than Dillon Thompson, the third strongest man in the world. So, Dillon, thank you for coming on here, buddy.
No problem, man. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I definitely was going to have you on here ever since I kind of got the idea to start doing this. I was like, oh, we're going to get Dillon on here because your rise and how you came and got to third this year. I mean, I don't know if other people felt this way, but you almost came out of nowhere. Not that you came out of nowhere because you've been a top 10 guy, which is funny. Not many people were talking about that. Kind of towards the end, though, this year, there was a lot of talks more of your name because, I think even Lynn, he put your picture up on his poster of like finalists for people or like, who will be gunning for the title. Did he not for this year advertising?
Oh, yeah. I think so, yeah. I get that a lot, too. It's like, people tell me all the time, they're like, oh, yeah, you're like the dark horse. You kind of just slide right in there in events. It just happens.
I know it. When we were sitting there the final day, when I was sadly sitting from the sidelines watching, I was watching you do – the first event was a sandbag throw, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you did the sandbag throw, I literally just looked at my parents and my brother who's all sitting there, and I said, Dillon just got third place. I said, he just got third place there. I said, because I said, trust me, with his height and his capability on stones, I said, he just got third place. And I watched how it shaped up with the other people. And I honestly was, it was like before it even happened and you got it. I didn't look at the points or not. I just knew off of that performance, you were at least podium. You were at least podium with that. So, congratulations on that, man. Hats off to you. And I don't want to dive into all this right now because we got to back up and go the journey to that. But Absolutely. I couldn't start the show off without giving you props on what you accomplished this year. So congratulations. Very well done. Yes.
Appreciate that. Yeah, those are good. Those are two good events for me in the finals that couldn't work out any better.
I know, because you're like a catapult, like a trebuchet on that sandbag throw.
Oh yeah, I knew. I was like just warming up. I knew with the trajectory and everything. I was like, yeah, as I play my cards right, I got this. You got it.
Yeah, very true. Well, you certainly did. So, okay, backing up. Where'd you grow up? How'd you grow up? Kind of, did you play any sports? Have any siblings? Older sibling? Kind of, how'd that go? What was the story like in the beginning?
Yeah, grew up in a small town, live up in northern New Hampshire. So I grew up not far from where I live now, like 20 minutes away, basically.
Okay.
Started playing sports right from the get-go. I think, baseball right at 5-6 years old. My oldest brother was into sports a little bit, so I kind of was following him along. He was like that older brother that you look up to a little bit. So it's like getting into sports, trying to follow along with him. And then right out of the gate out of baseball, it was like I kind of knew I had something going there. I was kind of a little talented, naturally athletic, gifted. So, from a young age, it was like I was one of those kids that, was like when the coach wasn't around or my parents weren't around, I was in the backyard. I was pitching the ball, throwing, learning how to catch, just doing the extra work myself. And I think that was, from the get-go, I think right from the beginning, I knew that I was going to do whatever it took in athletics to get better. And that was pretty much like the foundation, So, when no one's looking around, I'm putting in those little inches, micro work stuff, So I'm doing all that.
And that That started at a very young age for you then.
Oh yeah, really young. And then once I got into baseball, I mean, after that, it was right through school. It was just three sports, baseball, basketball, soccer, all the way up through high school. So that was pretty much how I really got into, athletics, and from the
Sure.
get-go.
Would you say having an older brother, being the younger, that pushed you as well? Plus, I mean, your character, yourself, obviously, your mindset, just hearing that, working extra and doing. But most people don't think that way. That doesn't even they want to do the bare minimum and get out.
Yep.
Extra does not resonate with a lot of people, but you did. And along with that, did having an older brother, did it push you trying to keep up with him?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So sometimes he'd be out in the backyard with me, throwing the ball. And of course, like having an older brother, they're just going to whip it at you. You know what I mean? So you just learn and adapt. And I think just having that older brother there to learn from, I was like, okay, well, that was from the start. I'm like, I need to get better, so it's
Yeah.
like, he's 6 years older than me. Yeah. So it's like trying to keep up with somebody 6 years older than you at that age is a big difference.
Absolutely. And I don't want to get too off topic here or track where we're going, but would you say, I said to Richard on that other interview, would you say that your older brothers have just grown into bigger, whatever you're attacking, trying to beat your older brother, and then as you've gone through with sport, your older brother grew?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It was just trying to beat him. And then I got to a certain age where it was just like, it was like, he worked hard, and he would just didn't have that like natural talent that I had, I guess. So I think that with the hard work put in, I was kind of just climbing up through the ranks, got pretty good at sports. But I think the number one thing for me is, like you said, just behind the scenes of like putting in that extra work with anything I do, even with sports or anything in life. Just nobody's watching. You're just putting that work in.
I love that. That right there is honestly, that's what it's all about. And that's why, even with doing these interview series, I really wanted to shed some light on, because my gosh, the journey that you guys have had, it's just incredible. Because I mean, you've dedicated so many years to just working for getting nothing out of it other than
Oh
bettering
yeah,
yourself and a goal in your mindset. So I really, really love that. Appreciate that. Okay.
crazy.
Moving on with that, would you say when you were younger, my next question is, when did you start lifting weights? And with that, when did you first kind of find out that you were strong, or kind of had that? I know you had the mindset, but when did you figure that out?
Um, oh my word, I started lifting. I remember my parents' friends gave me this weight set. It was just the old school bench, where your hands are on the outsides of the post. You know what I mean? Old school, the little 1-inch plates, concrete. I had that at 14 and a half, 15. I had a punching bag. I had some adjustable dumbbells. I had that given to me. And I just, I was that small kid. I was just, good athletics. I was fast, but I didn't have any muscle on me. I didn't have the build. So I just started working out, and same thing goes back to that working behind the scenes. And I would get home from school. I would just hit the bench press. I would hit the curls. I just start doing. Then I just kind of started doing the research, how to get a bigger back, how to get a bigger chest, and just started doing the research. And so about 15 years old, I really started lifting. And then I started going to a real gym at like 17 when I was in high school. And that really just kicked it off. Then I was on a solid, just kind of routine and plan with working out. More of just bodybuilding style training. I had no idea about powerlifting or strongman at that time.
Okay.
So man, I just been doing this. I go back and I've been looking back, and I'm like, I've been lifting for so long. To start at 15 years old, it's crazy. Now I'll be 30 this year, so I'm like, oh my word, it's crazy.
Well, if anybody would tell you too, oh, Dylan, you were really lucky to get third this year. Luck ain't got nothing to do with it.
No,
I mean,
it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, for years it sounded, well, obviously for years.
Years, yeah.
In the beginning there too, who was your kind of early inspirations? You said you did bodybuilding. You didn't know anything about strongman or powerlifting. So what was kind of your early inspiration in the beginning with lifting?
I think in the beginning, with any kid that's, just small in high school or something like that, it's always going to be For me, it was probably a big insecurity, I think. But, getting bigger was just my big thing. I just wanted to look bigger. I wanted to look like I lifted. I didn't really look up to anybody at that point. Of course, you watch the old school Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler videos. Like, we all do that, right? And you watch those tapes, and of course, you're just thinking to yourself, oh, I just want to be huge. I want to be huge, But you just, at that age, I think, 16, 17, 18 years old, when I'm that small, like, all I could think about was just getting bigger, getting stronger. That's all I wanted.
Yep. And the first time you probably walked into school or went somewhere and somebody said, "Oh, you're getting bigger. You've been lifting weights." That was like, "I
Oh,
sure
yeah.
have."
Oh, yeah. That's it right
Yeah.
there. Oh, yeah. They're like, wow, you put on a couple pounds, huh? Oh, yeah. I think my first year lifting, I think I put on, no joke, I think I put 30 pounds on my frame in the first year. Just, of course, that's when I got into supplements. You're taking your weight gainer shake. You're working out on a 5-6 days a week. I mean, and I just started eating more. That was the big thing. I just started eating more, and it was like 30 pounds came on like that. And then after that first year, it just kind of like, things kind of halt down.
I love the newbie game so much, and now
I know.
looking and seeing guys who start lifting, and even some guys who started lifting later in life, like in their early 20s or later 20s, whatever. They haven't really trained that way, and they can actually have newbie gains, and they get this progress really fast, and they're like, "Yeah, next year I'm going to the Arnold's if I keep on this. If I get a 200-pound gain on my deadlift and squat." And I'm just like, "You sure about that, Hoss?"
Oh yeah, I know. That's a lot of people I see that first year though, just cranking it. I'm like, it's gonna slow down. Trust me, that linear progression is gonna slow down.
That's what I appreciate so much about you as we're going to continue on your story. The years, you, Richard, Stout, I mean, guys who have done it for so long. When you have done it for 5 years and you hit that first wall of suck where it doesn't go forward, you've had some injuries, you've dealt with some adversity, that's like, okay, now how do we get past? Then get through that next 5 years. If you have the guy that's got through that next 5 years, now he's still figured out how to keep getting stronger and extract more strength from his body. Now that's somebody I might want to listen to. And anything past that, well, then I think you're starting to get into mastery of your sport. And obviously, I want to give that credit to you too, because obviously getting third in the world, you've hit some mastery in your sport. So you deserve that. So
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Moving on from that. Okay. You're in high school, you're working out, doing bodybuilding, 17. After high school, did you go to college? And when did you kind of find out about strongman, powerlifting? What did you do first? How did that all go? What did that look like?
No, didn't go to college. Just started, right out of high school, just working, job to job, just typically kind of up in the North Country, how things are. You just kind of go job to job. Still stayed on working out. That was the one thing in my life that was just constant, just stayed training. At this point, a couple years down the road, I'm in my early 20s. I was switched to a new gym, probably another 20 minutes down the road. Met a guy there that we became good friends. He actually ended up having some strongman equipment. I think that's when Mike Bartos was coming out with a lot of their equipment and stuff. He actually bought a lot of that equipment, brought it to the gym, and, he competed. He did some strongman contests, and, we kind of clicked. He saw that I was strong. My squat was good. Deadlift was good. My press was good. And he kind of was like, hey, man, let's try strongman. There's a contest in town, in a couple months. And so I was like, So I just started working out with him a little bit. I did the loadable Atlas stones. I think I did the yoke. Farmer's carry, started hitting the log a little bit, but I still wasn't too familiar with it. So dabbled in it a little bit. I didn't really know how to train for strongman. I didn't know how to peak, none of that stuff. So it was just kind of touch on some of the events. And when the day came for that first contest, it was kind of like, just wing it. That's it. First strongman contest, novice class, I think ended up in like third place. Not bad, but I tell you what, my first contest, I was destroyed. like destroyed. I was like, I've been typically sore from working out before, heavy squats, this and that, right? But your first strongman contest, I remember I went home and I couldn't even sit down. Like I couldn't move. I was just nervous system fried. My whole body was aching. I was just destroyed. And it's got to be between the yoke and the deadlift for reps. I mean, just destroyed me, you know?
Yeah.
But
Now-
yeah, that's how I kind of got into it, was that my buddy, he just was like, hey man, you're strong. You need to try this out. And I was at that point, coming from my athletic background with, sports, I'm like, shit, I'm, competitive. I'd love to get into this.
Sure. So starting off with that, you hadn't even watched any strongman prior to your first show, really. You weren't really following it like that.
No, I wasn't really following it or nothing. I had watched when I was really young, though, not to go way back, but when I was really young, of course, you watched the World's Strongest Man on ESPN and stuff. So I remember watching that when I was really young, and I enjoyed watching it. But no, just training. I never watched any footage. I never got no help, nothing like that.
Yeah. Okay. So you go in there and do your first contest. You do the novice class, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Training hard in the gym, and you felt that. But when you go to a contest, your first one, number one, your adrenaline and the adrenaline dump that you're going to have for that show. Number two, it's going to be maximum weight that your body has probably felt, and you're required to do it fast and repetitions of it. So it's just like, yeah, I know exactly that first feeling. And it's like, okay, so you do that and you have the whirlwind, the pain. When you went away from that meet, did you think that sucks, I want to stay away from it? Or did you think, I want more of this?
No, I didn't. Not at all. I actually was like, that adrenaline dump was what grabbed me in, pulled me in. And I was pretty much like, but also losing. I didn't like to lose either. So it was like, even though, it's novice class, you're still learning. I lost to a couple guys and I was like, I'm not coming to lose again. I'm like, we're going to do this again and I'm going to win. So it drove me. That's for sure.
Yeah. How old were you at this time, would you say?
Oh, I was probably, I had to have been 21 or 22.
Okay. So this is what, 2011, 12?
No, this probably had to have been 2000, like 16.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I was a little older, 22, 23.
I gave you some years there. Sorry. But okay, so 2013-ish in that range. Okay, so right after you hit that first meet, I'm assuming you instantly, with kind of how your mindset is and working hard behind the scenes after that meet, number one, I'm sure you said, okay, I've got to work on some of these things to get better at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it opened your eyes pretty good. I mean, nothing kind of tells you where you are, like competing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you kind of figure out like, okay, I suck at this and I'm good at this. So it's like, but then also on the other hand, you find out what you're just naturally you're good at. Like I found out I was pretty good at Atlas stones right from the get-go, which I didn't think I was, that was a new thing for me. So
yeah, well, I mean, gosh, just starting off doing Atlas stones, how do you think you really were good at that? Because most people, when they start off Atlas stones, they're terrible because they try to bicep curl it. I know I was bad for trying to do that.
Yeah, I just think, going back to the early days in lifting, I think my squat was pretty good. I had a good front squat. I just think just having a strong quads and strong squat, I think for me, it's always been, you get it to the lap and, the hip hinge or whatever was been no problem.
Sure. Yeah. Cause I mean, if you're used to if you can handle a heavy front squat and a back squat, the Atlas stone is not going to be the heavy. The key thing with that is going to be, your back. How strong is your upper back for it?
That's true.
Obviously you had a pretty strong back if you were right off the gate.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely trained a lot of back. That's for sure. And when I was training and doing that bodybuilding style training, it was like, it wasn't just get in and get out. Like, you hear the bodybuilders stuff talk about like, 60 minutes. I was in there for 2 to 3 hours of volume and I was killing myself. I remember one time I worked out like 3 weeks straight in a row, not one rest day, just kill. It was just at that point, it's just an addiction, right?
Passion, just pure passion.
Oh yeah. But now fast forward years later, I'm old and I'm like, nah, I'm like, I can't do that anymore.
Those early years of training, you literally think you hear all these inspirational videos of outworking everybody. So you're like, I'm just
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
outwork them all, and you
Oh,
just
yeah.
stick in there. But you realize as you get older, for me, I don't know, I'm not gonna speak for you, but outworking in a way, it sounds crazy, but making myself quit, leave that there, leave the gym and do my hard work is like, what are you doing after? What's your recovery? What's your diet? What's your sleep?
Yeah.
That to me has what helped me so much bring it together. That made me from being a
Absolutely.
lifter to being like, a world's strongest man competitor. That was the
Yep.
difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. You nailed it right on the head. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of the hard part. Okay, so moving on with that, you go back, you're working on your weaknesses, trying to attack some stuff. You're about 22. How long after that first show did you say, all right, let's roll on to this next one?
It took me about a whole nother year. It wasn't like that first one it grabbed me, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do another one in 3 months or whatever. So it grabbed a hold of me, and I still was just dabbling in it, training throughout the year here and there, but I was still kind of went back into my old ways of training, the high volume bodybuilder style training. And then I believe, the following year, the next one came around, same contest, but I believe I did another open. So I did my second novice, and I ended up winning that one. So there was kind of like, okay, there's some steam ahead, now I'm rolling, so that was a good confidence booster for me.
Do you remember what the events were on that second contest? Oh, I think I lost you. You back?
Still, yeah.
I lost you for just a second
Yep.
there, Dylan. What were the events
Oh.
on that second contest?
Oh my word. I think I couldn't even tell you the exact events. I think it wasn't just a regular bar deadlift for reps. I do remember that. I think it was like 405. It was some sort of a carry medley where it was like a keg sandbag medley. I'm thinking maybe it was okay. We were working a lot with keg, so I think it was a keg over bar was the load at the end. I don't remember what the press probably was an axle, which I found out early. I was pretty good at axle. And I'm not sure. It was probably a farmer's carry too. And then I found out my grip was terrible.
Was it farmers too during that time frame? What was big? Farmers with the turn?
No, it was it was a down and back.
But a turn, right?
No turn.
Oh, okay. Man,
Just cross the line and back.
Yeah, drop it and then okay. That back
Yeah.
during that time, my first kind of the earlier shows I was doing, it was always with that turn, and I hate the turn. If you get me drop it, spin, and then come back, oh, buddy, I'm good. But like the turn, the farmers,
Oh yeah, I know. I hate that too. As soon as you get that weight in different fingers, it's like game over.
yeah, for sure. So, okay, out of that show, would you say you won most of the events or just pretty consistent, or how did that kind of turn out?
I think I did. I think I won most of them, probably 3 or 4 out of the 5. So at that point, that's a big confidence booster for me, winning most of the events and then kind of seeing what, I need to work on for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so with that too, you never even did powerlifting kind of in the beginning, did you? Like never competed in it.
No, I still to this day have not competed in powerlifting. I've actually taken a couple clients to a powerlifting meet, but I have not competed in powerlifting.
Well, training kind of is it's different, but it's pretty similar as far as like obviously if you can train and peak for a strongman contest, you can peak for a powerlifting contest. I mean, it's kind of like I said about actually backing off. That's going to be the challenge with powerlifting is actually backing off on those 3 lifts and kind of training, working some of the other areas around it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd like to do one. I think I got a contest coming up next week and then OSG. So I'm like, maybe somewhere in between this summer, maybe I'll find one.
Yeah. What's your contest next week?
South Carolina Strongest Man.
Very cool. You excited for that?
I'm excited. I'm excited for a little bit warmer weather. We just got hit with a big snowstorm, and right now it's probably 30 something outside.
You see me in my tank top, it's 70.
I know. Where are you from again?
Well, I'm in North Carolina.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
earlier this week, I'm near the mountains. Like I'm not in the
Okay.
mountains, but I mean I'm like right there. I see them every day. So
Yep.
I mean earlier this week it was 30 degrees, and
Oh,
then
okay.
this
Yeah.
weekend is 70. So it's back and forth. But yeah,
Yep.
I'm gonna take the 70-degree weather.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to some 70s. That's for sure.
Yeah, bust out some of the ghost out there in the sunlight.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so shoot, I don't want to. I'll talk. We'll circle back to South Carolina's Strongest Man because I want to talk about your training for that and how you're feeling and going to all that too. But we'll keep on chronological order. Okay, you did your second meet, goes good, and then from there, when did you do your first open contest?
I think 2000, I believe it was 2017. I did my first men's 175 open, and that was at the same place again. This contest up here that we have locally. Did that, didn't have to cut any weight or nothing like that. I was, right around 170, 175 in 2017 and won that event. And I was super excited because, I was looking forward. Didn't even know about nationals, and someone said, "Hey, if you win, you get to go to nationals." I'm like, "Nationals? What the heck is nationals?" And
Yeah,
so, I mean, just winning that to move on and just to feel that confidence and just be like, okay, well now I'm at this next level. I'm national level competitor, which is good. So that competitive edge in me just was like, I'm just gonna keep trucking along. I'm gonna keep getting better and better and better.
yeah.
So
You
I
know,
got that itch.
yeah. What's really interesting to me about what you're saying kind of on your shows and your timeline here, your first one was in about 2013 is about what you said. You waited a whole nother year to do your second one. A lot of people when they do it, they'll just keep jumping and show and show and show, and they just keep going
Yep.
with it. I kind of like your approach because it's very similar to my approach. When I did my first show, I looked at it and I said, my dad said, "Were you going to compete again?" And I was like, "Well, why would I compete again right now? I know my weaknesses. I know what I'm not strong enough. If I go
Right.
compete again in 2 months, 3 months, I'm not stronger yet. I need that time to get better." So you did that your
Absolutely.
first meet to your second meet. And then going on, you say your first open meet was in 2017. And when you went to it, you won it. So it
Yep.
obviously worked. You were able to build and build. So you win that for you win your first meet, so that your open meet, sorry. And then after that, how soon was nationals after that, and did you go?
So nationals the following year in 2018, I believe it was in Missouri. So we went there, and I met a lot of the guys that I was trying to think that either a couple of them still compete, but a lot of them kind of dwindled out a little bit, and that I don't really see anymore. But met a lot of good guys at nationals, and I think that was a big thing for me. And I think to go around, and I think I think if you know him, Nick Gagnon. Do you know who Nick Gagnon is?
The name sounds really familiar, but I can't put a face.
He was just a guy that was just, I think he won, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 national titles in a row, and he was just winning and winning and winning. I met Richard Yu that year, really great guy. Me and him hit it off. I'm trying to think who else was there. But it was just good to be around, your weight class guys at the national level and just see how you stack up, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And to be honest, I went into that nationals with the mindset of I just want to, you just want to break your records, PR every, event. You just want to do the best you can. You don't want to, what you did in training. You don't want to fumble. You don't want to mess up. So I just went in there to have the experience really and to just go there and PR. And I actually surprised myself coming out with a 5th place finish at the end of nationals, which was huge. And
For
won
your
first nationals and won the last event, which is the medley. So that was huge for me.
that really is huge. Gosh, Dylan, you've been good for a long time. That was in 2018.
2018, yeah. Yep.
I mean, that's accomplishment because like you said, I didn't really know about nationals kind of in that timeline. I think the first time I qualified for nationals was 2017, and I was like, well, I didn't even know. I was like, what's that? And I kind of blew it off at that time too because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do strongman or powerlifting. But like nationals was a big deal because OSG Richie said it started 2017.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
it really wasn't
nationals,
that big.
yeah, right. So nationals was kind of the Arnold, and nationals was like that was it. That was where you went
Yep. That was the big thing. Nationals. Yep.
and got fifth.
You got 5th place. Yep.
So rolling off of that, what are we doing? I guarantee you're full head steam ahead for the next one.
So it was the top. So when I found out it was the top 4 that were getting the Arnold invite, I was gutted when I got 5th, and I think I was like a half a point or a point behind this guy. But I'm ecstatic. 5th place, my first nationals, right? So time's rolling on. And Arnold's is about, I think it was like 7 weeks away, 6 or 7 weeks away. And Dion, the promoter, had emailed me and she said, hey, we had a drop off. You're next in line. And so I was like, oh my word. I've been wanting to go to the Arnold, but I was like, I have not been training for this. This is in 6 weeks. I'm like, oh my word, how am I going to peak for this? At this point, I'm starting to learn how to peak more, or the events, everything. So I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going. I'm going to go get this experience. So I immediately, like the next day, just, booked my tickets out there and everything. Started hammering on the Arnold's events. And I actually peaked quite well for the 6 weeks that I trained, actually. And headed the Arnold. What a cool experience the Arnold is. I'd love to go back to the Arnold. And I think I finished, that was in 2019. So I ended up finishing 7th at the Arnold that year. It was just a stacked lineup that year. Oh my word. So yeah, didn't make that final day, but I was just so happy to be there.
So is 2000, what year is this? 2019 you said?
No, it's 2000, yep, the following year. Yep.
Okay. So you've not been back to the Arnold since then.
Yep, correct. Yep.
Now, why is that?
I don't know. I just I focused on OSG.
Okay.
I didn't. So to do the local show and then to do the nationals and then to go to the Arnold, I think those 3, like having to do the 3 shows, definitely flying out to nationals. It's these past couple years with me and my family, getting into a house, it's like you get the dog. It's like one step after the other. Life is busy, right? So it's like do 3 shows like that and stack that on top of your personal life is tough. So I haven't gone back since, but now life is kind of like, okay, now my son's getting a little bit older. Life's starting to kind of slow down a little bit more. So you can kind of start doing those things again.
So basically is, you had your priorities and, the Arnold's is cool. It's what you wanted, but it's not OSG. It's not Worlds in your head. You want in your head, if you're going to put it into everything, let's put it in the one that gives me the title that nobody can take. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's that. And it's also, it was the online qualifiers a little bit easier. You do it from your own gym. You can do it from home, so I do that. I get qualified. I don't have to fly out anywhere. I don't have to do any shows. I don't have to peak for nothing like that. So you do the qualifier. Okay, boom, you're locked in. You go to OSG, you do the one contest. So I've been doing that for a few years. And so I did do some local stuff like a New York. I did a New York show. I'm trying to think if I did something else. Oh, and of course I did PSL. That was back last year. Yeah, last year. So I've done some other shows. But just the process, I think, with the local show, then the nationals, then get to the Arnold, I think I've kind of just waved that off for a little bit. But I was like, you know what? I definitely want to get back there. So it's time.
Yeah. So real quick, too, something you said is very interesting. You qualify for Worlds by the online qualifier.
Yeah, the very first year.
Oh, just the first year.
Just the first year. So all the other years I've made the finals. I've just gotten that invite back.
Yeah, just made
Just
top 10, so it's just didn't have to worry
get
about
that
it.
invite back, yeah, which I've been
Yeah,
loving because I'm like, you know what? I don't want to have to peak for this because I mean, at that level, you kind of have to peak for that online qualifier to make it in that top 10, 20. And if you're not peaking, that's so hard to get in. So I'm very fortunate that I can make the top 10 and just have that invite back for sure.
I think the online qualifier in a way is harder than going and competing for me because it's like it has to be so static almost, just the format of which to do it. You couldn't really gauge, oh, someone's running with the yoke, someone's this or that. It's hard to gauge. So, like, it turns out to be a lot of static, like, even like a sandbag, max sandbag to shoulder, or something like that. It's hard to, and, also with it, I knew guys last year who were weighing, 30, 40 pounds heavier than what
That's the
they were
thing.
going to
Yeah.
compete at, and when they get to the show, they put up this massive number in the gym, and they get to the show and they're like nowhere near it. And it's like, well, where'd you drop off to? But it's because it just took too much out of them to cut that much weight in 3 months. I think can you hear me? Did you still got good service?
Yeah.
Okay. I think personally too, that's kind of what
Yep.
I think that's personally what changed the frame. Carrying the frame this year, what was it? Like
Yeah.
supposed to be 640, and that was based off of everybody holding some insane weight on the farmers for 5 seconds. And when you got to the show, they still dropped it to 590, and over half the guys in their weight class were just
Yeah.
dropping it
Still
over.
dropping it. Yep. Yeah, no, I hear you. I think I don't know, maybe they should make some sort of a standard where, they're saying, hey, like if you're going to compete at 175 and you're doing the qualifier, you got to be under 198. Like you can't be in that next weight class.
Yeah.
I mean, that
You
makes,
know
that
what?
makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. One weight class above, that's pretty reasonable because we all walk around about a weight class above where we're at and we
Yep.
cut down to it. That makes good sense. And I understand why they don't do it that way, because to think of watching that many videos and trying to, verify weights that people have on there. People have this bumper plate thrown in with this, with that, not trying to, all that, and then have to worry about. But if you could make it all in the same kind of like quick video, weigh yourself right before you do it, that could be feasible.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yeah, I know. There's got to be a little bit more of a standard there. And it's just getting every year, it's getting harder and harder to qualify on that online qualifier. And I mean, you've seen it every single year. OSG is getting nastier and nastier every year. These guys are just getting better and better.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that's got to make you feel pretty good, because as the competition has risen and people are getting better, so have you. So that says something to your training and your consistency. It doesn't, it's definitely a journey and a process. And there has been guys come up in your career, like you said you were competing with, that aren't even there. They've come, they've gone, and you're still there doing it. So hats off to you for that.
I appreciate it. Thanks. I know. I feel like I tell myself, I'm like, oh, I'm getting to be the old man, the veteran in the sport now, but I still got some time. I'm like, if I can hang on as long as Richie Stout has hang on, I mean, that guy, what a veteran in the sport.
Well, and the crazy thing about him is, my other buddy who's a strongman, I've interviewed him on here before, but he told me if you can stay injury free, he said your strength years, they really come in when you're in your 30s. 30 to 40 is really when you get strong. After that, you have a hard time with recovery and injury and speed. Speed's kind of like one of the first things to go. But as long as you can be injury free, you can keep getting stronger. And Richard obviously has.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the that's a big thing with me right now is like 5 years ago, it was like my recovery was so much faster. So it's like instead of working out 5 or 6 days a week, I'm only working out 4 days a week. I mean, like you said, those other 3 days, the recovery has to be on point. You have to listen to your body, and you see all these guys getting hurt left and right, and you just think about like, what are they not doing for recovery? Are they not listening to their body? They're going heavy way too often, and I think that's one thing I've been able to figure out about my body is what I need to do to stay healthy. And if I do feel anything going wrong with my body, I'm able to kind of pinpoint it and grab a hold of it before it gets worse. So, just getting older and wiser, I've just learned that through the years. And I know my body. I know what my like my hips, my right side. I know what my parts of my body kind of give me more trouble than not. So you got to figure that out. About everybody's different. You just got to figure it out and try to get around it, stay healthy, figure out your recoverability and just go from there.
What you just said, there's an absolute gold mine, because you talk about, actually stopping when you feel something's not right, listen to your body and trusting that process. So many times I can recognize it, relate to it from myself. It's almost like a panic desperation. You know that you're not feeling quite this good today, and this is feeling slow. So instead of just realizing it, you change to a different movement that you like better and see if you can get just a PR in that movement. And it just gets to where you're chasing a Instagram PR or just so desperate trying to always do better, when sometimes doing better is what you said, listening to your body, backing that back down. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. You wouldn't believe it, but I'm a 20, 25, 30-minute warm-up kind of a person. Like, I do not start my first lift until, if my body does not feel good, I will keep stretching. I will keep doing dynamic warm-up, whatever it takes. I'll get on the lacrosse ball. I mean, people laugh at me, they joke, but like I said, I've stayed pretty healthy for a long time. I've had my bumps and bruises along the way, but just that taking care of my body. And when training is over, even when I'm at home, I do recovery at home as well. So it's not just stretching and doing recovery at the gym. I'm constantly taking care of my body. And I think that when you get to the top level, like you said, that's where it's super important to learn and know what you need to do in order to get your body at 100% peak, condition. I mean, if I didn't recover the way that I do, I would never see OSG. I would never see the Arnold, nothing. I mean, you really got to learn that stuff about your body.
Yeah, I want to go into all of that. I want to talk about Lawrence Charlotte being your coach as well. And even I just found that out about you this week. Thompson Training Facilities, your gym. I want to get into all that too in a minute. But real quick, I don't want to breeze past your accomplishments either, because
no worries.
That's what we're about right now. So your first OSG is what year?
2021 was my first year.
Let me think. That's the year that Panganiban won, correct? Or 20? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
That's when Panganiban come on, because Tommy won 2019. 2020 was a bye year, correct?
Yeah, they took a break because of COVID.
Yep. So 2020 is a bye year, and then 19 Panganiban kind of comes in out of nowhere and wins it. How did you do that year in 2020, 21?
Did pretty good. I went into that thinking, I just want to make the finals. I want to make the finals. The expectations of myself was, I always lack a lot of confidence. I think I try to be very humble. And I just go into it as I just pick apart every event. So it's just one event at a time for me. And just obviously trying to PR, trying to do my best. I'm trying to beat my time. I honestly just focus on myself, really. But the goal was obviously just to make the finals. I end up in 5th place that first year I went. So again, it's just surprise. I just keep surprising myself, and I'm just saying, but dang, I'm like, I got a nap for this, You're
just too consistent, and I mean that in a good way. And I don't mean that to take any credit away from you. Oh, you just give you a label. Oh, that's why you do. I don't mean it that way. I mean, like, you have put in so much time on these details and these events that you're just going to be consistent no matter what you do. So you've made the final every year? Every year.
Yep. Every year. Yep.
I can't believe more people don't talk about you.
Yeah, every year. Yeah, I know. It's funny because I was PSL last year, CJ Cruz, they call me the dark horse. And he says, he comes up to me before the contest, says, nobody's really talking about you, but he goes, he thought I didn't podium that at PSL, but I was fourth. And he's like, I think you're the dark horse to podium. He just like, nobody thinks you're going to win things. And he's like, you just come out of nowhere and you just win shit.
Yeah, you really, really do, man. I mean, just for 2023, for my first year, 2022 was not a one. In 2023, I got to say, watching you, I went back and watched it. I couldn't watch 2022, my performance, because it was I just underperformed so bad. I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't even watch it. 2023, I was able to watch because it was a big jump up. But I went back and I looked at every single event that I did, and it was small, but that costed everything. I said, if I would have done that differently, I would have been through the final because it was 2 points. And I looked at the other event. I said, if I would have fixed that one, I would have been through the final. I went through all 4 events. In each event, I have a thing. And I said, Ross, you can't afford to have 4 things on 4 events. Exactly. And I said, and honest to goodness, I mean this with the utmost respect to you. I was like, look at Dillon. I said, he didn't have 4 things. He had 4. I mean, in your head, you probably do have things. But when I looked at it, in my head, when I looked at your performance, I said, he did this. That was right on the money. He didn't do this. Like, for example, I'll just give you quick. When I did the press medley, when I came to the yoke, I could have hit that yoke. Everybody had problems with it, blah, 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 blah. That's fine. But when I picked it up, I felt it off to the side. I rushed it, pressed it, and I put everything into that press, and I came so close to it on that one. Doesn't matter. Now you're spent. You should have set it down. Take that time, hit it. On the the frame and the Denny stones, I trained to be consistent on the stones. Don't drop them. I didn't be trained to be really fast on it because I was like, you know what? It's only one drop that's going to knock a lot of people out. So they changed it that day. Didn't really matter, really, because you guys didn't drop them either. You were just fast, but it bumped me back down. My frame was so fast in my Denny's, everybody caught me. I can't afford that. Yeah. When I came to the deadlift, I said to myself, let's go for broke here. Let's try to hit a 675 big-time PR because, I don't really feel confident in my grip after Denny's the next day. But that was a mistake. I should have definitely pulled the first 2 bars at least strapless and the 635 strapped on fast because when I got to 635, I automatically knew I'm not pulling 675. I'm not even going to waste that time. So, I mean, there's just stuff like that. Those are massive points. And when I watched you back, you were fast. You were fast all the medley of the pressing, boom, 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 boom. Did you hit the yoke? You didn't, did you?
No, I didn't hit the yoke. Oh my word, I was so upset. I was drilling that in training. Like that was got to be one of my easiest lifts. But I think everybody was surprised with the distribution of the weight, how it felt. Rather than 4 corner posts. I think that was the big thing. And I mean, if you watch the people who got it, like Dean and Josh, everybody pretty much had the power to strict press that weight. That was it. And I was like, because if you went to go dip, I mean, that thing just rocked on you, game over. So I looked back at everybody who got it, and I'm like, everybody strict press this right out. That was the only way to get it. I was like, oh my word.
Yep. And the funny one with that event too was official Strongman actually shared my first training kit I had for it. I had 5-gallon buckets filled with concrete. And that actually was the best. I ended up changing them and using a yoke later on because I was trying to make it better and better. And can you still hear me or are you breaking up?
Yep. No, I can still hear you.
Okay. It's lagging a little bit, but I'm going to roll right with it. Yeah, I got you. It's lagging a little bit, but I'll roll right with it. But anyway, so those buckets actually felt just like it. And if I would have kept training on them, that would have been better. But I tried to make my equipment better, and it ended up not working. But anyway, yeah.
I did. So, I saw that. I remember when they posted that. I was like, oh, my word, that's some Rocky-style training right there in the basement, right?
Yeah, and it worked great. And to be honest, that felt the closest to what it was because it rocked every which way. I shouldn't have I shouldn't have changed. I used it for a while, and then I was like, oh, and I got comfortable in my own kit, like you're talking about pressing a yoke. I was like, oh,
Yep.
we'll use that. Didn't work.
Yep. Yeah, no, I was super frustrated with that. I should have got that. So I go back, I do the same thing. I'm like, oh man, I would have got that. I would have got extra points. I would have got that. But you can't, you can go back and look at all that footage, and you just got to put it into your next contest and say, all right. And I think that's what's, helping me make the finals every year is I'll look at, so I've done the same events at OSG for multiple years, different events, and I'll just pick them apart, and I'll just know how I need to get faster, what little things I need to do, which is huge.
And you've got to be, just building so much confidence too, because like each time you do it, it's giving yourself a little more belief in yourself. Like for example, for me, like I'm looking at like, oh, I got 31st to 12th. Now I'm trying to go to the final. Then this, you're looking at it like these little details from
Just
final to podium to now these little details to first. That's what's got to be in your head.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely, it's little things. It's how you step up to an implement. I mean, you can step up to something and then bend over, or you can run up to it while you're bending over and cut off a half a second. I mean, these little details of what you need to do in order to gain points is huge.
It's so crazy when you have that many people in your weight class, that half a second. I mean, it's everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that event where, I don't know if you watched that event where I was going against the drag, me and Carl Sherry were neck and neck, and I looked over and I knew I could yank that sled. And just with me at the end of the finish line, yanking that sled gave me another, point up on him or whatever it was. That's all it was,
And the announcer said that, oh, Dillon with the sneaky, whatever they said. I forget. I think they said something about that. That was funny.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my word. We were neck and neck. And just the way that was sliding on the floor, I was like, oh, this thing's going to, when I yank it, I was like, it's going to come flying across the line. And I was like, I'm just going to yank it as soon as I get about 5 feet.
And it paid off for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good deal. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, with all that, so when you got third last year, gosh, how did that feel? For all the years you've been training, your wife and your son, with your just all of that, what did that feel like? I mean, I know you've had to sacrifice a lot of things. I mean, being a family man, hats off to you for that, and your wife, I'm sure she's had to be, supportive, but,
oh yeah,
some sacrifices on her end too. So, I mean, how did that feel for you guys collectively too?
If it was an amazing feeling. I mean, for me to get third was just like you said, it's just putting all that past work together. I think the sacrifice, like you said, with my family, a lot of it that goes into with the training with, with having a young kid, it's like you're switching on and off, taking, your young child, I need to train. Oh, she's got work, so, schedules are crazy. And so you just look back at all of that sacrifice and that hard work, and you got to give it up to your spouse, because, just as well as I do, we wouldn't be here without, our spouses. And, and it's just, you look back at the food prep, the nutrition, all that recovery. I mean, all these tiny little details lead up to that, that one little moment, to stand on that podium, and it just means the world. You're like, everything that I had to sacrifice, everything that I've done for years. So you have to look back and not just say, was this just 12 weeks of training, or was this, a chapter of your life, which it's pretty much a chapter of your life that you can say has been dedicated to this. And this is that moment that has led up to there. So, I'm a pretty humble person, and I don't express a lot, especially in a public setting. So, but tell you what, though, when I got back to my hotel room, I was just like shining. I was glowing. I was so happy.
Well, it was well deserved, man. That is really big, and I can't wait, man. Watching and hearing all of where you've come from and how long it's taken and what you've done, and you've had to have those moments in your career where you had to ask yourself realistically, can I keep getting better? Am I able, like, have I extracted everything from my body? And the fact that you keep coming back saying, no, there's more, and you keep doing that. I mean, I don't know. I'm doing a really bad describing this, but just that that mindset of coming back and not giving up and keep pushing past and going through all those adversity and challenges and struggles and just holding on and having that belief system. I know not all your preps have gone perfectly. I know there's been times in the gym that you could look at other people, I'm sure, and they're lifting more on video, and you have to just put that aside and just keep putting it out there, so very commendable for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah, that's the that's a big thing I think with our weight class or even other weight classes is being in a competitive strongman. The social media nowadays, you're looking at everybody else's lifts, and everybody's comparing each other, and comparison can be a good thing and obviously can be a terrible thing. But I've just like, I'm not a big person to train certain lifts. I go heavy in the gym and stuff, but I'm not a big person to just train heavy all the time. I'm one to just listen to my coach, and Laws has been really good with me since we started together, and we really do a good job of putting a good package together. And so when we get there and we just lay it all out on the line right at contest.
Now let's get into that. How did you get, with Laws as coach? And I don't want to give any of your secrets away if you have anything like that, but kind of what does your training look like? What is typically what you're doing and that?
First off, training with him has been really good. I think I jumped on board with him back in, I think after 2021 or early 2022. Maybe it was early 2022 because I was like, hey, listen, I've been doing everything myself. I wanted to get better at OSG. That was the big thing. So jumped on with him, I think early 2022 before, and we did the whole year together.
And not to cut you off, Laws is an incredible strongman. But what was the draw to picking him for your coach? Because there's a lot of people, and I'm not saying he's very well deserved, an amazing athlete and coach, and his athletes are awesome now that you see them. But what was the kind of draw for you then?
I think for me it was I wanted somebody like, of course, when you look at a coach, you're like, okay, were they in the sport? Like, for experience is a big thing for me. It's like, you don't go to a coach that really hasn't done. If you don't go to a swim coach that's never swam before, right? So same thing. That was a big thing for me. And then just his personality. I think when I first started chatting with him, I think he just came off as a really generally like down to earth guy, just a really good personality, and we really clicked well together. I liked his format of training. In the beginning, it was like I didn't know if I was going to stay on with him. So right from the get-go, and then once things really started to work out with the training, I was like, all right. And we were just communicating. I thought, I'm just staying on with this guy. I like his philosophy. I like his formats and, his program of style of training. So I'm just going to stick with him, and we've built a good relationship. That's what it is, I think, over time, and just building a good relationship with your coach.
What was the beginning? What was the differences that you saw in the beginning that you didn't like with your training that you weren't sure of, and then having success? What was that?
I think for me, it was like I could push myself in training, or there would be days where I'm like, oh, I'm feeling good. I'm just going to, go really heavy. I'm going to go off script here, off program, because I was writing my own plans at the time. And so I really didn't have any accountability. I knew how to write my program and plan. I knew kind of how to peak for a strongman contest, but grabbing a hold of him was like, okay, he's going to hold me accountable. He's going to give me numbers that he thinks are achievable for me. Because there are days where I'll go in the gym, I'm like, life is hard. I'm tired. My son needs so-and-so this, or my family needs this, or whatever. And so you're like, I'm not going to give it all today, whatever. But he puts it on a numbers for you and says, this is what you need to hit. There's that accountability. So that's what has just held me so accountable the whole time. It's just he gives me this, and I'm like, and I'm that type of person too, where my personality is just, you put something in front of me on paper, I'm gonna do it. That's just it.
Yeah, that's cool. And he seems to me too, just watching his YouTube channel, things like that. He's very realistic. He's not a person who's going to tell you, "Oh yeah, load it up to this, Dylan," and something that you couldn't hit, but he just wants to see if you can get all jazzed up,
Oh yeah,
and blow you and hit it. But like at the same token, he's not going to give you something easy, light, and under either that you can
right.
just breeze through and get it done. So I mean,
Yep.
it's a very calculated, but shoot, talking about somebody who's done it too. I mean, how many times has he been injured and come back through injury and had to learn to listen to his body in a
Exactly.
world too of static monsters when he came through it.
Yep, exactly. I mean, and he's all there for me with with prep and recovery, any guidance I need like that and stuff. So, when I'm feeling a little off and I tell him what's going on with my body, and we'll back it off, or he's good with adjusting things for me. So just a good coach that way.
Very cool. Very cool. Would you say it's more kind of linear progression style? Is it more of a conjugate based? Is it kind of what kind of more is he kind of hybrid of it, the two?
Yeah, a little bit of a hybrid. We do a little bit of conjugate style. This past prep, I haven't done a lot of speed work.
Sure,
And like
sure.
with my deadlift, the speed work has really helped this prep big time. From the get-go. So, like my drive off the floor was always really slow, and it's just like coming off the floor, but then I get the bar to my knees and I can lock anything out. So we really hammered the speed work this time of prep round, but there is a lot of just linear progression from the get-go with a lot of volume work, which is just absolutely disgusting. It's like, I mean, when he gives me 5 sets of 10 reps on the deadlift, I'm like, oh my word, here we go. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, because he's wanting you to have that. It's just true. You got to build that base. Even before you peak, you've got to have the. If you don't have the base, it's not going to be there, and that's miserable.
It is. It's miserable. I mean, the whole week was. I remember one week was 5 sets of 10 deadlift, 5 sets of 10 squat, 5 sets of 10 bench press. I'm like, oh my word, this whole week's going to be miserable.
You're walking around your lower back. You're trying to sit down and like,
oh my word. Everything was just so freaking sore that week. And I'm like, all right. Or it's like 1 week's 4 sets. Then he increased me. Then I'm like, all right, now I'm 5 sets. I'm like, I look for him. Oh my word. Now I'm 6 sets. I'm like, one more week, I'm down to 3 sets. 3 sets of 8 for me is like, hallelujah. At that point.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we got a breath. We're getting rest
Yeah.
week.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, he's been really good for me. And I think since we've been together for a little over 2 years now, he pretty much has learned my body. He knows what areas I need to work and everything. So when we get back from a contest, or if I get back from this one, my next off season, he'll have it nailed right down. He knows what to kind of drill me into.
Now, how does he do that when with peaking for a meet? Trying to peak for so many events, work on your weaknesses, and have them all come together at the same time. It can honestly get really chaotic and just be like where you throw everything up on a wall and just hope something sticks. How does he do all that, peak you, not overtrain, and then at the same time keep your conditioning up? Because as the weights go heavier, on typical, old style training, a lot of stuff, the repetitions come down, but, mixing all that together, how does he kind of attack that for you?
I think we really he tries to focus on the areas that I really need more. So, where deadlifts is an area that I continually still need to work. So it's like, I'm hitting deadlifts twice a week. So one day is a speed, and one day is heavy. Or where something like pressing, I really only need to press once a week. And then I do some accessory work with the shoulders, rotator cuffs, triceps. I really don't need like bag throwing. Bag throwing for me is like every other week. I really don't need to hit it. So we try to focus on those weak areas of mine. And if we need a little bit more volume, we crank those up to, twice a week if we need to. So that's kind of how we will pinpoint it when we're a little bit farther out. And then, of course, as you start dialing things in closer and closer, everything just needs to start to come together, and you need to start taking out, that those secondary movements, the accessory work, and it's just all the event focus needs to be right at the end.
Very smart. Some key things I want to touch on that you said there. Number one, absolutely, based off of what you said there, he has learned your body and knows it, because for your deadlift to be something, we're going to do more of this style of training. We're going to do, the conjugate style where speed work and max out and kind of in that range, hybrid version, and then saying, okay, pressing is a strength, but we have to hit it this way. And now I know we need to attack the accessories this other way. It's just funny. You have to learn somebody as a coach with that, but then it's just a smart way where you can actually keep track of what you're doing too, and you don't get so far behind on something or too overdone on something else. It's really, really smart. It makes sense to me.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And, I tell them all the time, my body is just not a body that can handle a lot of volume. It doesn't like a lot of volume. And I think that's just, scientifically, I think the more muscle, I think the bigger guy you are, I think the less volume you're just going to be able to handle. I think that's just a part of it. But, since you get to a level where, you're just lifting heavy all the time, or you just can't keep like 5 sets of 10 on deadlift for me, it just wrecks me. I'm destroyed. So the weight has to be like, I'm not pulling 500 pounds, 5 sets of 10. I mean, the weight has to be pretty minimal to recover from that.
Yeah, well, because it's also the deadlift going to that many reps for me, a bunch of sets, where I run into the problem is my legs, my glutes, and my upper back, it can handle it. But that lower back, it's not able to handle that. There's a diminishing return for me, because I'm going to have to sacrifice form and technique to hit those reps. Whereas if you back my reps down to like 5, where I never failed or compromised my technique, after that, I can go work reverse hyper and train my lower back, because if I keep pushing past that, there's no point. I'm gonna change my technique, and all I'm gonna teach my body is when it gets hard and you get to that point, that's when you round and you fail. So when you feel that heavy strain, that's where you learn to fail. And that's what I did for years, and I'm not going back to teaching my body how to fail in the gym.
Yep, absolutely.
I want to put all those reps in training have to be right. I have changed since last year, and I'm carrying it forward to this year because it works so well. My reps in the gym are going to be right. Every single one. I don't want to miss a rep. I don't want anything to be wrong. I want it to be dialed. So when I go to contest, if it falls apart, that will expose a little area to fix, but it's not because I trained it to be failing in the gym.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I think that's just the part of experience, being a veteran in the sport and getting better and better, where you just you're like, listen, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just worry about your own body, how you can recover, and then how you can get better. Most people think, well, I can't get any better unless we do, there's a level of volume enough to keep growing. And I think that's totally bogus. Everybody's body is different. So just learn your own body, just keep growing from there.
Yep. There's nothing even else to say from that. That's perfect. Let's talk real quick. I don't want to take up your whole day. I just want to talk real quick about South Carolina Strongest. What are the events? How's training going? What are you feeling? And who's competing?
Training went really well for this one. I did I do 10 weeks? A 10-week prep. Events are first one's log clean and press. I think it's 220 pounds. Second event is a max axle deadlift, so 3 attempts. Third event is the Husafel. You got to pick up a Husafel stone, 250. You carry it, I think it's 40 feet. So carry 40 feet, drop it. You pick up a 250 sandbag, and you carry that for as far as you can go, but you only have 60 seconds. And I think that's from the start of when you pick up the Husafel. So you got to move. The fourth event is bag over bar, bag toss. And then the last one is sandbag to shoulder. So Events are all really good for me. Training went really good. Log wasn't something that I really needed to just like kill. Although it's like I love log training, so it's like I did it once a week. But bag toss was, I to be honest, I really didn't set up my uprights and practice with the height. It's such a pain for me to set them up outside, but I just did some bag toss outside here and there. And then deadlift was something that I really was hammering on, because for me, the axle, not getting any flex out of that bar or nothing. The axle was a big one for me. Training went really well. Peak went really well. So I'm hoping to hit, I think 595, I think, is one of the jumps. So that's what my goal is to hit. So, training went good. Couple guys I know that are competing are Steve Coyne, I think is his last name. Is that his last name? Steve?
Yeah,
Yep.
he's on my Instagram. Yep.
Zach Schultz. I haven't met him, but I know him from online. I forget this other guy's name. Competed against him at OSG. There's a few guys that I know that are going there. Pretty upset to see that Richie's not competing in the 200-pound class, because I was looking forward to seeing him.
Is this a qualifier? What is this, a qualifier for something, or?
Yeah, this is Strongman Corp's regional. So this is a qualifier for nationals, and if you win, it's Arnold's. So I think they're going to give out 4 or 5 nationals invites, and then first place will be Arnold. So I'm just gonna give it hell. I'm just gonna go and just give it hell.
This is the year then.
This is the year. So I told my wife, I'm like, well, if I don't win and I don't get the Arnold, I'm like, okay, I'm probably just gonna go. I was like, I don't know if I'll do nationals. Maybe we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, for the deadlift too, are you allowed to wear a suit or no suit, raw?
Just raw, yeah, no suit.
Okay. Oh yeah, because the Arnolds typically they don't let you wear suits and stuff for there.
Yeah. Oh my word, I hate axle deadlifts with a passion. I was like, oh, I hate them so much.
Funny you should mention that. That's what I've had in my prep for, well, my entire off season. Actually, I said I'm doing axle. Give me the worst implement, and I'm just gonna put in work. And yeah, it is really, really miserable. I mean, you go to a stiff bar after an axle, and you think it's got whip.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But this year, probably for OSG, it's probably not going to be a deadlift ladder again. So you're like, you might as well just train with an axle, because you never know.
What do you think? What is your opinion on takes? Because, I mean, they change it every year. And somebody who's been there, for several years, if you had to guess kind of, what would you say some of the events that you think OSG is going to have this year?
Ooh, I don't know. I think they're going to go away from the deadlift ladder. I don't think they're going to hit that 2 years in a row. I don't know what it's going to be for a deadlift. I think that it's never going to be a max deadlift, just because there's way too many competitors. It's never going to be a max of anything, unless maybe in the finals. But I mean, it's hard to say. Lynn said something about, or they said something about bringing the car walk back, and I'm like, I think they might do that. I think they're going to bring the car walk back. I don't think the pressing, I don't think it's going to be a medley. I think they're going to choose probably one implement this year. I'm hoping for a log or a dumbbell, but a log would be nice.
I was thinking about what you said too, not being maxes, and they've kind of done. They did 20, I think 19 was an axle clean and press for reps. 2021 was the log press for reps. 2022 was the Viking press for reps. This year was the medley with everything. We've had a lot of reps, but you can't put an all-out max because it takes too much time. I'm almost wondering if they don't pick, it could be a log, could be an axle, whatever, but if they don't pick something really heavy in 60 seconds and see if you get one rep, that's big points, kind of like the Arnold, or 3 reps, and I almost thinking, wonder if the axle's coming back since it's been so many years to be its own thing,
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't mind seeing that axle, or if they set up, I think like the pros just did. I think so. Set up a couple dumbbells, 1, 2, or 3, and say
Yep.
you go out and you choose which one you want to hit. I think that'd be awesome.
I think some of that format, or even kind of like how Shaw Classic does it with the log. I think kind of that format could be something we see. And then, like you said, the car walk. I was thinking that too, but he's done the car walk several times. I almost wonder, Farmers and Frame, it's been in there
Yeah.
multiple times now. So definitely a yoke of some sort. I was almost even wondering if
Yep.
they might do something like we've seen, the yoke walk with like the whiskey barrels into, a log press or axle or a dumbbell, I mean, I'm trying to get it set in my head for what I think I could see happen. And I don't know if Lynn's going to watch this one or not, but I'll be interested to see what he comes up with.
I mean, that year, what was that? 2022, when he had Farmers, and then he had, the car walk was in the final, but still, when you put Farmers, 2 of those walking style events, that can get brutal just in training. So I'm like, I'm hoping it's either one or the other. So I'm hoping he doesn't do yoke and Frame or Farmers.
Or together, if you can train them if they're not a separate event, because training them separately is different. If you could train them together, down and back with that, and then with the other, that makes sense.
That's not bad. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's more manageable.
Yeah, but I like what you said. Maybe switch it up to where we're going into a press. You're kind of like, when you're at that level, it's like you're trying to figure out who can hang and who can't hang really at that level.
Well, if Lynn, if you're listening, I want the axle. I want it heavy for like 1 rep is good points. 2 reps would be great. 3 would be first. I mean, it gets to be that point to where he's done such a good job with picking weights to where it's exciting. You want it to be where it's really hard. Some guys don't do it. A lot of guys are in the middle of the pack, and then some guys just demolish it, because that's what's exciting for the growing the sport. And I understand that. It's hard to put a format in there where you've got over half the field 0 something, and then 2 or 3 guys, come in and smoke it. And then, maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 guys come in there and just, average it out. But what? That's a pure sense of finding out who's the strongest too, because, the top 10 is always going to be able to do it,
Yeah, it is these last couple of years, it's been a cutthroat top 10. I mean, you make top 10 on any event, I mean, that's good, really good.
Yeah. And shoot, we could go on for days about picking events and how to train them and being consistent.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just a sport. Whatever he puts out there, we've just gonna. I know you're gonna sit there. You're gonna peak and prepare for it, and I'm gonna try to do the same thing myself. So, anyway, anything? Oh, real quick before we go off here, I want to give you Thompson Training Facility.
Oh yeah. That's my gym. Yep. So I started that back in early 2022. Yeah, I actually I left my last job. I was in a sales job and just didn't love doing sales. Obviously, I wanted to go it was a gamble. I'll tell you what, it was gamble and his risk. And I left that job, a good paying job, to go do what I love. And to be honest, it paid off. Everything's going really well at my gym. I love my clients. I love what I do for a living, and I'm happy. So it's the only thing that really matters.
Now, is it an open to the public gym or just you people who you're training?
Yeah, so it's like a private training facility. So one-on-one personal training, I do classes, stuff like that. So it's not really open to like general memberships.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not trying to be whatever, but that would almost be a benefit too if you can make it that way, because then you can be selective with who you have. You don't have to worry about your equipment on getting trashed on this and that. You're going to have people that you can work with, people who respect what you're trying to do, and I don't know, that'd be better.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I know. You buy an expensive piece of equipment and somebody's like throwing something around and not respecting it. You're kind of like, oh man, that's spent a lot of money on that just for you to like toss it around. Oh, now things are scratched and bent,
Yeah, a nice expensive Olympic barbell that's met the rack pool king. Where
yeah. Oh my word, I'd be so frustrated. Oh my word.
I don't know. I the first time I ever did rack pulls like that, I was trying to be a hero, one of those guys, and I ended up bending my bar, and I was not worth it.
You did, yeah. Oh yeah, I've had a few of those. Like I said, in the early days, you live and you learn, and then you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna respect the equipment now.
Yeah, especially when you're buying it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Well, Dylan, anything else you want to say before we close it out here?
No, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on. Love to chat with you. And man, I wish I could see you sooner. You're in North Carolina. Come down to South Carolina, Strongest Man.
I don't know, man. I gotta pick the format how I'm gonna get back to OSG this year. You said about online qualifier for your first year. I'm either gonna do online qualifier. I was thinking about going to Massachusetts. I don't know. Only because I really wanted to go to Florida. Florida's not far from me, but the time frame, want to have a vacation in the middle of a prep, and that doesn't work for me. And then also, it's getting closer to Worlds. I don't like to do a show that close. I'm not Dean McVie and these other guys who compete.
I know, right?
50 million times a year. I'm more kind of like you. I hit a show. I put what's at the top of my list, and I go for that, So, I'd like to come to South Carolina to see you guys, but you won't see me competing.
Yeah. No, stop by and visit. I picked this one because I was like, well, one, it was a regional, but then two, I was like, listen, I need a vacation. And I was like, this was somewhere warmer than where I live. And I was like, done, let's go.
I don't blame you. Well, Dylan, it's been an honor to have you on here, a privilege. And man, I can't stress enough the respect I have for the work that you put in for this for so many years and just consistently getting better. And my gosh, to be at the level you've been at town too. I had Richard last week and have you on here, somebody who's been so consistent for years and just keep showing up. It doesn't matter if you're getting the glory or the fame. You're just there showing up. And, one day they're going to have to say your name again. They got it third this year, and that was a big statement. So I genuinely believe you can win first place, buddy. You just keep pushing like you are, and just a privilege to have you on here.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for the kind word.
Yes, sir. You cut out here for a second. You got me still?
Yeah, we're just going to keep trucking. There we go.
All right, gotcha.
There you go. Can you hear me?
Well, Dylan, I'm coming. Yeah, I got you good. You're just going to keep trucking at it and keep training, and I'm sure you'll turn up. Yeah.
That's it. Just here to have fun. Just here for the experience, and I'm just going to keep doing this as long as I can.
There it is. Well, thank you, buddy. You have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
See you.
See you later.